our session. So good morning again. We are going to record each one of these sessions and post these online, so folks who can't join us will have the opportunity to listen in on what we talked about, as well as utilize some of the resources that we'll share today. And I'm also going to share my screen with all of you. We do have some information and kind of an agenda to guide us through here. Let me, stopped. Well, let's do that again. Hold on just a moment, folks, as I get my stuff open. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, let's try this again. Let me share my screen with all of you. And we are going to go ahead. Can everyone see, maybe for those who are on video, or unmute yourself for a second, raise your hand if you can see my PowerPoint presentation. Excellent. Okay. So far, so good. Okay, so again, welcome everybody. We are going to go through today and spend a little bit of time talking about what we get out of these sessions. I put together sort of a brief agenda for us, but my hope is that even with our large crowd that we've got on here, that we can have some conversation amongst one another and share some resources. So we'll get started. I'm going to give a couple of things on tips and things that we're going to do here as part of the Zoom sessions for those who might not be as familiar with Zoom. Share some resources that are local to our community from the Foundation and the United Way, as well as a couple other things that might be useful for you all to hear about. And then and try to have a little bit of discussion about what your organizations are doing, what you see as your greatest needs, and then most importantly, as we finish out, what you'd like to get out of these sessions going forward. So let's start first with a little bit, for those who might not be as familiar with Zoom. We are doing a few different things here. So I see some on video, but not everybody. If you can, use the video feature. It's always nice to see everybody's faces when they're talking. So that's helpful for those who have that via computer. If you're not—
How do you do that?
How do we do that? So at the bottom of your screen, there should be a taskbar that comes up that says, it looks like this icon I'm pointing at here that says Start Video. And if you've got a camera—
No, I'm on my phone, Jess.
Ah, if you're on the phone, that's not going to work.
And I dialed in. Okay.
So if you are dialed in on phone, then you get out of having us all see your lovely face.
Oh, lucky you.
Oh, Charlie. So the other thing you can do, again, this is mostly on the computer, but you can do it on your cell phone as well, is just mute your mic when you're not talking. If you are like my household, you probably have either pets or wild children running behind you and trying to entertain the crowd. So sometimes it's hard to hear. So if you're not talking, go ahead and mute your mic if you would. And then finally, there is the chat feature, which I've seen a lot of people use already, just to say hello to folks. And so if someone's talking and we're going through things, but you have questions you want us to cover, there is that chat box that you can write in there, either to specific people or to everyone in the group. So try using that. And of course, we'll also try as best we can to let everyone take turns talking about what's going on with their individual organizations. So hopefully that works well for everybody. Sound like a good plan? For those who are on video, go ahead and wave or smile or just give me like a thumbs up. Jess, that sounds great. So y'all, those that know me know that typically I like lots of, audience interaction when I'm leading some sort of workshop. So it's hard when there's not everybody to be able to see in the room. So thanks for bearing with me. So what I wanted to do next is just talk through a couple resources that are available that have gone out, and Sarah Bond as well from the United Way New River Valley is here. You may already be familiar with some of these, but I wanted to make sure you had them and that we had them in the presentation. So let me click through. So the Community Foundation has a variety of resources on our website. I just wanted folks to be aware of. Hopefully you all have heard about our COVID-19 response grant program that we rolled out on Monday. The application is available through our site. For those who've applied to the Community Foundation before, you're using the same application process you've always used with us through our online system. We're offering up to $2,000. This is unrestricted money for your organization to use as you see fit. And this is a rolling grant program. We'll start awarding grants this month and go through at least June. If you apply now and you don't get a grant in April, you don't need to apply again. We will consider your application the next month, and the number of grants we can give out is just going to be dependent on the funding that we have available. We have allocated money from the Community Foundation's various endowments to this, and are also talking to some of our other fund holders at the foundation to add to it. So do take a look at that. We know that the need is great, and we hope that this will at least be a stopgap measure for folks over time. There's a lot of information on the website about eligibility criteria, the very short application, and some more details about that. Of course, you already know, because you're on this call, about our bi-monthly listening sessions. If you take a look at those under our events page, you'll see that not only is there the Zoom link to join in, but there's also a short Google form. If you've got a specific topic you want us to talk about at the next upcoming session or a question, take a look in that form, and I'll show you a link to that later as well. But you can add in there what your specific concerns are, or a topic that you might want to listen to. Of course, we also have the Give Local NRV platform. For some folks, this is familiar. You already have a profile on Give Local. This is the 2020 iteration of Give Big NRV. This is where your organization can create a profile to raise money, as well as to communicate with the community and donors about things that you might need. So go ahead and look at that. If you're on that site already, make sure your profile is up to date. We're going to be doing some marketing in the next few weeks around Give Local as a resource for those who want to give back to community organizations. So update your profile. And if you're not on Give Local, go to the site and you can register to be a part of it. And then we do have a resource list as well on our site. We're constantly updating that and working on ways that we might be able to collect various resource lists that are in the community. So those are some of the different resources that we have. Let me pause for a second. And if anyone has a particular question about those, you can attempt to all talk over one another at once. Any questions about those resources real quick?
See the comments, Jess.
Comments. I'm in the chat box. Okay.
Read the chat questions.
Yes, I am. So I've got a couple chats that are coming in here. Thoughts about moving, thoughts on Giving Tuesday on November the 5th. Yeah, so some of you might have seen that Giving Tuesday, which is typically, of course, right after Thanksgiving, is moving to May the 5th. I think that's wonderful. The Give Local site certainly allows you to push for May the 5th. And if that's something that you all as nonprofits that are on the site would like to participate in, go ahead and create your profile, but also you can let the foundation know if we've got folks who are participating in that. We will certainly do some marketing around it. So we could include that, for example, in press releases that we do or social media that we do. I think it's a good resource. You know, certainly any day that focuses on giving to local nonprofits is a good one. Other questions or more questions on that too? Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Sarah Bond from the United Way. And Sarah, if you want to talk a little bit about resources available from United Way.
Sure. Thanks so much, Jessica. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm impressed that everybody could get on the call at 8 o'clock pretty efficiently. Good for us. Way to go, New River Valley. Here at the United Way, we also have what we call a COVID-19 impact grant fund, and all nonprofits are welcome to apply to that. It's a short, very streamlined application process, and we've already given out a couple of grants, for example, to the Community Health Center as well as Radford Fairlawn Daily Bread. So we're excited about getting the money out that we've been getting from the beginning. We also have a community resource list similar to the Community Foundation of the New River Valley. Both Jess and I, at least we get information from Virginia Tech, the county government, lots of different resources. So what you don't find on one community resource list, you might want to go on to the other. And similarly, Jess and I are exploring making a searchable document potentially to help, find resources. Our push right from the beginning was donations of monetary donations, perishable food, non-perishable foods, cleaning products, personal protective equipment, as well as any volunteers that are interested in helping. So if you are looking for some vetted volunteers, or you know of people who want to donate goods, we receive them and then get them out to local nonprofits also. So those are the main things that we're doing right now. Please don't hesitate to contact us here at the United Way at info@unitedwaynrv.org, or our number 381-2066. A lot of people have questions of whether or not we're just going to be working with our partner agencies. At this point in time, we're opening it up to all nonprofits. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd love to help. Thank you, Jess.
Great, thanks so much, Sarah, and thanks for what United Way is offering. So we will, in addition to the recording that we have here, also post this PowerPoint presentation, so you've got all these links live for you, and you can utilize that. I wanted to share a couple other resources that I've come across that I found particularly helpful. There are a lot of different things coming across, I'm sure, all of our email boxes about opportunities for nonprofits, particularly about the federal legislation coming out and how nonprofits can take advantage of that relief effort. There are two here that I just wanted to add. The first is the National Council on Nonprofits. This is also linked to the Community Foundation's website. They have some really straightforward, good guidance on the federal relief legislation, as well as other resources for nonprofits as you navigate COVID-19. I would definitely take a look there. Much like we are recording this and posting it, they've done webinars as well that are on that site and provide a little bit of walkthrough on resources available to agencies like ours that are really helpful in navigating what can be some difficult stuff. And then many of you know that the foundation works a lot with Virginia Community Capital. We're really lucky to have them here in the New River Valley, and they are teaming up with others, as you see, the Small Business Development Center and the Department of Housing and Community Development, to do some webinars coming up. And again, these are focused on resources, particularly financial opportunities for nonprofits that might help you with your basic operations, covering payroll, for example, and giving some good guidance on those things. So I think that those are useful for you. We're also looking at potentially hosting ourselves a webinar that talks more in depth about these opportunities. And I'm going to call out now Eric Chapman, who's a member of the Community Foundation's Board of Directors and an attorney with Cowan Perry. Eric, did you want to add anything in about the SBA loans or other resources we should be knowing about?
Sure, and I hope everybody can hear me. Jess, nod your head if you can. I'm on the call-in on the phone because I started this in the car. I think probably, without getting into a deep dive, I've been running webinars on this stuff for about a week now. The two things I would call out is that the SBA loans that are available under the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, which is the CARES Act, which was passed last week by Congress, is applicable. It's got a couple different loan pieces in it, but most of them are applicable and available for nonprofits, including the Paycheck Protection Program, which is an expansion of an SBA small business loan. It can be made to tax-exempt 501c3 charities, and it can be used. You can use those loan proceeds for certain types of expenses such as payroll costs, rent, utilities, mortgage interest, and other debt obligations that would have existed going forward in a limited period. And there's a loan forgiveness portion of that where those are technically loans. They've got some favorable rates and some favorable terms, but they may actually end up just being forgiven or turned into grants, which is a word we're all familiar with. I heavily encourage any nonprofit, even if it just looks like your income at the moment is wavering, maybe you're still going 90% of what you had last year. Kind of doubt it, but if you are, I heavily encourage you to look at them because these are intended as a bridge stimulus loan from the federal government that really is a grant, and I really do think the majority of them are going to be forgiven. I'm also very concerned, and I'd be remiss if I didn't add this at the moment. I'm extremely concerned that people who are in need of these businesses, especially nonprofit sector, apply for them, because there is arguably an upper there is an upper limit of money available under this program for them, and the application process opens tomorrow morning, arguably at 8 a.m. Although I've heard, and the applications are already up on the Treasury Department's loan. But I've got a lot of concerns that the government's going to run out of money and have to pass another package, and that some of the terms of that next package may not be as open-ended or as favorable. And frankly, I think that's because there's going to be a lot of people going for those loans that perhaps don't quite need them, but they're just savvy and are going to bridge them for grants. Whereas I think the need in the nonprofit industry is real. Sorry, that's a little soapbox. I'll get off of it. But on a related note too, stepping away from the CARES Act, it does have some other disaster relief funds, an economic injury and disaster loan, which is an actual loan under the SBA program as well. That's a loan that can go for about 3.75% is the interest rate. There's deferred 6 to 12 months of payment, and the term is set, I think, at standard is 30 years. So, I mean, that's a pretty affordable loan to pay back over time. And I think that can go up to $2 million, if I remember correctly. And you can apply for both loans, although there's some interplay between the two. So I'd contact your friendly local lawyers to figure all that out, or bankers. And finally, I don't think it's gotten as much press, but there was, bear with me. So our government invoked the Holland Act, the Stafford Act, which is the tax act from the 70s, when it declared COVID-19 to be a national emergency and a qualified disaster. And there's a section in the tax code in the IRS 139 that permits certain gifts to employees or unrelated victims affected by a qualified disaster, including the COVID, that can be given from a business or a organization tax-free to the recipient individual, but fully deductible as a tax deduction. And the best example I can give you, because this really hasn't been invoked in 30 years, is to say, the guidance came out and said an employer can't just give an employee more money, right? That'd be compensation, that's taxable. But an employer could say, hey, if your employee is working from home and at that point in time needs childcare, the employer could pay the babysitter directly if they had one available, and that would be a business expense deduction for the employer and tax-free to the employee, which is, before you go down this route, you really should consult with a CPA or a lawyer, but it's a really interesting side provision that allows people to get maximum bang for their buck on direct giving. And then I guess finally, as everyone is aware, but I'll footnote it, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act that provides substantial federal paid leave, both a short interim paid sick leave and a more lengthy extended family medical leave that is also paid at a certain rate, is available to all employers. It covers all employers that have less than 500 employees. Once you get below 50 employees, there's a question whether it applies, depending on whether the leave for those employees would render the business or the nonprofit not viable. But it's certainly something I will look into, because if you're taking leave under that, as many of you probably are, like I am, to take care of children at home because childcare is not available, your organization or you may be able to get that leave paid and have that paid portion of that leave fully reimbursed by the government to the organization. So it's essentially a win-win the way they do the tax credits for it. So I've rambled. Anybody wants more information about those? I'm happy to discuss those with nonprofit organizations. My contact information is probably on the CFNRV's website somewhere. And now I'm just trying to get back to the session so I can mute myself. But thank you all.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you, Eric. Can everybody hear me? Sorry, going back through. Thanks, Eric, for all of that. So again, there's some information on the Community Foundation's website that provides guidance in particular on the CARES Act and opportunities there for that Paycheck Protection Program in particular is what a lot of nonprofits are talking about. There's some guidance there, as well as from the National Council on Nonprofits website here. And then we will work, and I'll work with Eric to add some additional information to our website on some of the other things that he talked about. I can see in the chat as well that Sarah's got some resources she can share. Does anyone have questions real quick about these resources before we go into just some more general discussion as a group? Questions, comments, thoughts? Okay. All right, so lots of great resources. I'll also say as well, just quickly on those loans from the Small Business Association for Nonprofits, the Paycheck Protection Program, those are run through our banks. So you can also talk with your local banks. I know they are gearing up to be able to process those for businesses as well as nonprofit organizations, and trying as well to figure out and answer any questions in the guidance they've been given. So if you have a relationship with the bank that handles your different accounts, they're also a really good resource to go and talk about how much you should ask for, what are the provisions on forgiveness, et cetera. Okay, so we wanted to move next just to an opportunity, to the extent that we can as a group, to have some discussion around what your organizations are experiencing right now. And so we've got a few different questions here. We can each be able to talk if that works, or also, take some time to use the chat box if you feel like there's some other stuff you want to discuss. But I thought we'd start with a little bit of discussion about how your organizations are currently operating. I've heard several folks who have, in some cases, if they run a particular venue, have had to close that venue. In other cases, organizations meeting basic needs are trying to meet an increased demand for those. So for those who might be willing to share a little bit about what your particular organization is doing right now, how you're operating, and if you'd like to talk about the other second question too, some of the needs and concerns you're seeing, that'd be most helpful for our group. And yeah, go ahead.
Ese precalentar con un poquito menos.
Anyone want to share some of what's going on with their organization?
Jess, this is Charlie.
Yeah. Hey, Charlie.
The community garden is still open and will continue to stay open throughout this. I'm requesting, I posted with you the other day the hours for the community garden, and people are welcome to come in ones and twos with their children and do a little work in the garden and get some dirt therapy in and some rest from the virus. Everybody here in town is healthy right now, so we don't have that as an issue locally, and would welcome anybody that would like to give me a call. And my information is available there through the Community Foundation, and set up an appointment to come out during garden hours. Thanks, Jeff.
Great, thanks, Charlie. So for those who aren't aware, that's a Giles Community Garden, Charlie Herbert. And again, happy to provide information if folks want to be able to go hang out there, but also see the great resources they provide in the community. Any other folks on the call? I know we have several who are doing either food pantry or meeting basic needs, utility bills, et cetera. You want to talk about what you're seeing out there that might be useful for our group to know about?
Hey Jess, it's not on that topic, and I'm very new to Goodwill Industries at the Valley, so I don't want to speak too much into details on it. But what I did want to share is we are completely ramping up our services for people who are unemployed virtually. It's going to be kind of a huge focus of our mission services team to provide as many services as possible virtually through the new Goodwill Virtual Services platform. And I'll go ahead and share that link with you as an additional resource that can be included. And we'll share additional information as it becomes available on our unemployment training and reemployability services.
Great, thanks, Megan. So that's Megan Fleiderer with Goodwill, and again, we'll post that information. If it's not clear already, it's already kind of happening, whether it's in the text box or through our conversation. If you have resources that you would like other nonprofits to know about, you can send those along to me, and we'll add those to the Community Foundations list currently. And then, as Sarah said, the two of us, as well as some other groups, are talking about creating a searchable, as well as kind of a public resource page that would allow you as individuals from your organizations to go in and update information yourselves. So we're figuring out the process there, but for now you can send those things to me. So Laura Beth, do you want to talk I see you're on the call. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Women's Resource Center and what you're seeing from there?
Yeah, so hi everybody, I'm Laura Beth at the Women's Resource Center of the New River Valley, and we are still open. Our hotline is still being answered 24/7 here in Radford. We have extended our chat line hours. We started that about a year ago, and boy am I glad we started it a year ago instead of scrambling to start it now. Anyway, so we just expanded our hours. We've got staff and volunteers and interns who are helping to cover that. So our crisis advocates are still here. Our shelter is still open. Right now, we are, I think, we had 11 or 12 families in shelter as of yesterday afternoon. So if folks are experiencing domestic violence or sexual violence, we are still here to help. I think what we all know is that some of us can be quarantined at home and be safe and have plenty of food to eat, and some of us quarantined at home are not safe and do not have plenty of food to eat. And so we are hearing from people who are afraid to be stuck at home where it is not safe. And so if you're hearing from those people, if you're helping to connect them with food, if you're helping to connect them with payments for their electricity or whatever, and part of their fear of being at home is around safety, please have them call our hotline or chat with us. You can call our hotline or chat with us and ask questions. One of the things that we often do is walk partners like you all through the process of a really difficult conversation around domestic violence. And so if people aren't ready to call us yet, I understand why. But if they have a good relationship with you, we would be happy to talk with you about questions to ask and conversations to have and safety planning. And some of that is available on our website, but also our advocates and our staff and our volunteers are there waiting for the phone to ring. So I don't want people to feel like they're going to interrupt us if they call. At this point, we're really just interested in helping get information out about safety planning and services that are available and utilizing support systems. And each of you are that support system. And so however we can support you in that is what we would want to do. We still have educators. We still have people who are trying to figure out ways to do staff trainings through Zoom, or if you've got some folks who are having more difficult conversations and you'd like your staff to get some training on safety planning or domestic violence, we're looking at ways to do that through Zoom. So what we know is that now is going to be a really dangerous time for a lot of people. And you folks are going to know that before we do. And we just want to support you in supporting them, however that looks.
Great. Thank you so much, Laura Beth. That's super helpful. I'm wondering if other folks on the call, anyone from our emergency needs organizations, Marcia, do you want to say anything, for example, about New River Community Action, or maybe if some of those organizations during this section could talk about what they're seeing and their needs before we move on to some other types of nonprofits. But
yeah,
sure.
yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Marcia. I'm with NRCA. Following up on the shelter piece, our 2-hour house thermal shelter is still open. Our season was to close down a bit ago, but we're having that to remain open. Also providing day shelter, which is not normally part of what we're doing. So we're trying to give those folks some opportunities to stay safe during the day. So in talking with Carol earlier in the week, I think she said she had 11 or 12 folks that had been there overnight. And so it's, the need is still there. The really cool things that's happening in this community are it's just amazing what's happening. Just from the support that's coming in to help us extend the season. Folks are doing a great job of donating things to our house, so we've got the resources that they need there. But then also, Carol has this great attitude that she's paying back the community as well. So any donations that are coming in monetarily to pay for food, she's going back and purchasing food from our local restaurants to try to keep them up and rolling. So just this wonderful attitude of supporting each other however we can is just, it makes me a little teary. So I need to stop talking.
That's awesome. Thanks, Marcia. Yeah, it's amazing to see. I've seen the same thing. Even I was on a call just shortly after everything started to kind of shut down, and to see the extent to which particularly you all and your organizations are stepping up to meet the need is truly inspiring, and it's nice to see the community rallying in that way. Other folks, I think I saw Tina King in the call from the Agency on Aging. Tina, did you want to say anything about what you all have got going on?
Jess, can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, we are continuing to do home delivered meals, both hot, frozen, and getting out quite a bit of shelf stable meals and just miscellaneous shelf stable items so that our older adults can have groceries on hand. We also have been getting some good donations of paper goods and getting those out to folks that we're delivering meals to. I think right now it's upwards of about 300 folks throughout the New River Valley that are getting our meals and the extra products that we're sending out. Most of these folks are faring quite well. Some of them we're actually doing some shopping for that we used to take shopping. In regards to our medical transportation, that, except for dialysis and for cancer treatments, is no longer happening, but it seems like most of the physicians locally have postponed routine visits. So I think overall the folks that we've been providing those services to are doing okay with that. Just as Marcia said, it's been very encouraging to have the community come together around the many needs that we're all seeing, and to have each other to lean on, and to know that if we don't have the resources, where we can go to help find that. So just want to say now to you, Jess, and to United Way and all the others on the call we've had contact with, thank you. And encourage you as well, as you see older adults with some needs. We are trying to keep apprised of all the different resources if we don't have them, and how to direct them and connect them. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Tina. And then also I'm seeing in the chat, for those who are seeing, but Carissa with 211 Virginia is on the call. And Carissa, you put some great information in the chat, but do you want to just say a little bit more to the group for those who are calling in about what 211 is doing and how that's a resource for all of us?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. We have really had to scale up our operations. The Department of Health hotline number directs calls to us, and we are processing a wide variety of calls, more and more for general needs as this crisis goes along. We're seeing, what I put in the chat was some days we're seeing over 700% an increase in calls from our usual levels. We have AmeriCorps volunteers and other Council of Community Services workers and general community volunteers that we've trained up to take calls, and we're closely monitoring COVID calls for Department of Health and other agencies like the CDC. It's really important that participating agencies either update their own listings with changes to their services or additions to their services. You can do that through the website link, 211virginia.org. There's a tab at the top for Add, Update Your Agency. Anyone is welcome to email me directly at the council. Jessica, maybe the best thing is for you to push out my email, just because we've got the longest domain name in the state.
Absolutely.
I'll read it up now, but I will mention my phone number, which is also a way, I'm happy to help anybody get information listed in any way that I can. So it's 540-339-9146. I'll add that to the chat so you can see it. But our information, we're doing a lot of food pantry updates. We're working with the Federation of Virginia Food Banks for some linkages to where to get these resources. We have so many food issues, which I'm sure you're all aware of. We also have been updating local government information, office closures and redirects, as well as trying to keep track of what the public schools are doing in all areas as their services are fluctuating up and down. So there's a lot going on. We have, informational meetings and updates to all our contact specialists daily. So we are working really hard to be that information go-to for everybody across the Commonwealth. So please do send us updates. Check out our webpage. We've got links to all kinds of things that you may be getting, or maybe you're not, and we're always here to help. So.
Great, thanks so much, Carissa. So I'll definitely include some of the different resources we've talked about, including Carissa's contact information on our resource page, but then also probably put it, inserted into this PowerPoint. So when y'all come afterwards, if you want to get the resources, they'll all be in one place for you. other folks that want to share what their organizations are doing, I'm wondering in particular if I think we've got some folks who have venues, so museums, theaters, et cetera. If you'd like to share how you're navigating things, what some of your concerns are, that would be a great help to folks. Otherwise, I'm just gonna call you out.
Hey, Jessica, this is Rhonda.
There you are, Rhonda.
So, of course, we're closed. We're trying to just put as much online as possible as far as exhibits and information, that type of thing. But the other thing that we're doing is we've started a new series called Artist Sessions. A lot of our artists, of course, their gigs, or call them at different venues, restaurants and that type of thing, are being canceled. Gift shops that they sell their items are obviously closed, that type of thing. So anyway, Artist Sessions is just a way that we can introduce artists to the community and let them know how to support artists during all of this. So that's a weekly. We do a new one every Wednesday at noon.
Great, thanks, Rhonda. Anyone else want to share? Hold on, I'm attempting to both lead the meeting and read the chat all at the same time. Anyone else want to share some resources or information about what your organization is doing?
I can share, Jess.
Yeah, great, thanks. Go right ahead, Linda.
Hi everyone, it's Linda with Literacy Volunteers in New River Valley, and obviously all of our face-to-face educational programming has been suspended, but we see so much hope and feel so much gratitude because our volunteers are really stepping up and learning the technology, and we're really working on shifting gears to see what resources we can provide and suggestions and strategies and tools so that education can continue. And with the hit to the economy and with parents at home with kids with schoolwork, we are anticipating a greater need for adult basic education services as people are faced with a new digital world. A lot of our students unfortunately don't have access to devices, and we're trying to get that information to them about how they can access Wi-Fi and technology so that they can participate. We did set up a hotline. So if anyone, like for example, somebody called this week and needed help with the census form, if anyone needs help with online job applications and helping their children with homework, we have volunteers lined up to be partners over the phone to help people. So for those who don't have access to technology or have the skills to use it, we're sort of doing a new model with phone-based. And so, of course, we had to cancel our major fundraiser, and everyone knows that businesses aren't really going to be in the place to support us right now. So on top of this major shift to our programming, and of course, relationship building is one of the most important parts of literacy services. So trying to get all of that in place virtually is our focus. At the same time, trying to figure out alternative ways to support our budget is a challenge.
Thanks so much, Linda. Appreciate hearing what you're doing and also about the challenges and concerns. I think I would imagine that pretty much everybody on the call in one way or another has some concerns about ongoing operations and funding. I know many of us have shifted major fundraising efforts, and so thinking through that, and that kind of brings me to where I thought we could talk a little bit more, which is this last question around what we hope to get out of these listening sessions. So we certainly have the opportunity, as we've done here today, to share information with one another about what our groups are doing and to have discussion. We can't always mimic exactly the kind of relationship building we do in person at Third Thursdays, but we can sure give it a shot through here. But I was also wondering whether there are particular topics or speakers. For example, did we want to have someone talk a little bit about online fundraising capability? Do we want to have a deeper dive on some of these loan programs? Getting a sense from you all, I think, of what would be helpful to get out of these sessions and the kind of format that you would like to see. If you'd like it to be more information delivery or more discussion, that would be helpful as we plan these. As you saw, the foundation's plan right now is to do these the first and third Thursday of the week. So trying to provide some good content for all of you through the pandemic. So thoughts that you all have, you might be willing to share either by talking or putting it in the chat for me.
Jess, one of the things that would be helpful in terms of just recommendations during this time for fundraising. Everybody's struggling, and the May 5th possibility on top of June 24th, on top of other options, you know, we don't want to ask too much. Obviously, adult literacy services are crucial to people being able to move forward and help their children, but then folks who have immediate needs, I don't know, it's just, I think we could use some advice about how to approach fundraising when our whole community is stressed.
That's really helpful, Linda. And I guess maybe that's a question we could discuss as a group. So right now, the foundation is proceeding with the Giving Day on June 24th as planned. And that's one, because we understand, of course, that everybody is going to need support at that time. But two, that's we need that time internally to be able to plan well so that we can market that. At the same time, I get the concern about, do we push on May 5th and then again in June? I don't know if anyone has questions or thoughts there. Just from the foundation's perspective, to make sure that we've got the marketing done well. I think June for us is what we're looking at, but certainly try to support efforts in if you choose to use the Give Local platform. Any thoughts that others have there?
So Jess mentioned the Community Foundation grant. That's $2,000. The United Way grant, streamlined grant process, can be less or more. The SBA loan, highly encourage people to do that because that is likely to be forgiven. So there may be, that can at least, like Eric said, likely cover your personal expenses and things like that. Eric, I hope that you're available for people to call, perhaps. Maybe you can put your telephone number up there, or who you would recommend, or 3 people that you would recommend for people to use as resources. And then there are some fundraisers that are still going on out there. I heard that the NRV Cares had a pretty fantastic online silent auction. So that's pretty much what I've heard in the circles that I am part of.
Thanks, Sarah. And I noticed too, a few folks put some other resources, and a couple of these are on our website as well. Candid has a lot of resources around fundraising right now, and we can include that in our resource list, particularly around how to do some virtual fundraising. And then Mighty Cause, which is the software host for Give Local NRV, has also been developing a lot of content around virtual fundraising. So they might be good to look at. And then we've also got some information in here you'll see in the chat too, from Susan at Black Pearl Philanthropy, with some resources. But we will think through, that point's well taken, Linda, about whether we might want to have a session that kind of focuses on some strategies for fundraising in this time, and see if we can find a speaker to speak to that. Other topics or things that would be helpful, types of speakers that you might want to have, or formats for these sessions?
Jess, this is Charlie. One of my concerns long-term is for all of our collective mental health. And I think having somebody that can come in and speak positively about how we can maintain our sense of sanity during these ensuing months, and somebody that not necessarily would be delivering a heavy mental health issue-based conversation, but more one along the lines of being positive and uplifting.
I think that's a great idea, Charlie. We can look to see if we can find someone to speak to that, or at least have some conversation from folks on how you all are dealing with the stress and uncertainty of it, which I think would be great. I'm reading through the chat again. Somebody asked, or Laura Beth asked if the chat's included in the recording. To be honest with you, Laura Beth, I have no clue whatsoever about that. We are going to find that out, but I'm hoping that I can go back through and pull some of these chat. I've been writing down some of the different resources or folks that have offered their information here, so I will try to compile that as much as possible in this information, including Eric's info and others. Other thoughts or questions have, oh, the chats will be sent to me. Fantastic. All right, I am learning so much about Zoom. The number of Zoom meetings I have had in the last week is truly incredible. So you think that I would be an expert, but I am distinctly not. Other thoughts that folks have as we're kind of getting to the end of the hour about topics, sessions, other things that we want to do. Has this experience thus far been valuable for folks? We want to continue doing them, and we'll work on maybe having some speakers and different resources for to share with everybody.
Yes.
Yes, valuable.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Okay. Any other thoughts then? Oh, let me just share kind of where we're going next. So as I said, this call, we are recording. I'm getting all sorts of good info here about how to make sure that I do get the chat within the recording, but I'll do my best to get these resources up to you within the next, up on the Foundation's website within the next day or so. And again, you can go just to cfnrv.org and you will see right on our home page, you can click on the home page and that will take you to our COVID-19 page, which has the resources. So we'll put the recording as well as the PowerPoint up there. Our next call is scheduled for April 16th. Again, that is on the Foundation's page and on our events page. No need to RSVP, just go grab that link. But again, if you have a specific topic or thing that you'd like to discuss, there is a Google form linked to each one of these events. Just go in and write some of the issues that you're having. There's an opportunity there to include resources as well. Or you can email those links and documents to me and we'll get them up there. Some other folks are sending some great ideas as well about thinking if we can hear from Carillion and Lewis Gale. I had thought of that, and of course they're pretty busy, but I will look into that. I was on a great call yesterday with the leadership of both Lewis Gale Montgomery and Carillion NRV, and they were most helpful. So let me see if I can get some of that, them or someone at least from their hospitals to talk about that. I can say, just sharing kind of personally, and I don't know if anyone else was on the Blacksburg Partnerships call yesterday, that it made me feel really good and proud about what our healthcare systems are doing in the New River Valley. They seem to be very proactive, working hard, and inspired confidence in everybody that was on that call. And then as others are here, and this will be in the chat, thanks Laura Blevins for being on the call from Senator Kane's office. She's put some information in there on his website about the coronavirus, and you can see there what the federal government is doing as well as resources. And then the New River Health District, their website is also linked on the Community Foundation's page, on the United Way's page. I think anyone who has a resource list here in the NRV has probably linked the Health District. Huge kudos to Noelle Bissell at the Health District, and those folks have done great. And they've got some information on there about what they're seeing, links to the Virginia Department of Health, and information, as Sarah put in our chat, about testing capability here in the New River Valley. So any other final parting thoughts for folks? Or if not, we will be back together again in 2 weeks. Well, just from the Community Foundation, thank you all for everything that you're doing in the community. It is impressive and amazing to see how quickly organizations have pivoted to continue to serve your clients. It is not going unnoticed, not just by the foundation, but by a lot of people in the community that I've been talking to. So thank you for all you're doing. If there are resources or things you need from the foundation, from United Way, from others, please reach out to us. And we will see you again here in 2 weeks. Thank you all. Enjoy the day.
Thank you, Jess.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.